It was dark now. The BFG hurried into the cave and put on those brilliant blinding lights that seemed to come from nowhere. He placed Sophie on the table. "Stay there, please," he said, "and no chittering." He hurried away from her. He got out an enormous empty glass jar. He clutched it to his chest and hurried towards the shelves on which stood the thousands and thousands of smaller jars containing the captured dreams. "Dreams about giants," he muttered to himself as he searched the labels. "Here's one, and here's another." He grabbed the jars and unscrewed the tops. He tipped the dreams into the enormous jar. Then he hurried towards another shelf. "Now I was wanting dreams about giggle houses for girls, and about boggle boxes for boys, and dreams about a little girl, and dreams about me." And so it went on. In about half an hour the BFG had found all the dreams he wanted, and tipped them into the one huge jar. He put the jar on the table. "Now we is mixing them." The BFG went to the cupboard where he kept his bottles of frobscottle, and from it he took out a gigantic egg-beater. It was one of those that has a handle which you turn, and down below there are a lot of overlapping blades that go whizzing round. He inserted the bottom end of this contraption into the big jar where the dreams were lying. "Watch," he said. He started turning the handle very fast. Flashes of green and blue exploded inside the jar. The dreams were being whisked into a sea-green froth. "The poor things!" "Oh, they is not feeling it. Dreams is not like human beings or animals. They has no brains. They is made of zosimus." After about a minute, the BFG stopped whisking. The whole bottle was now full to the brim with large bubbles. "Keep watching," said the BFG. Quite slowly, the topmost bubble rose up through the neck of the jar and floated away. A second one followed, then a third and a fourth. Soon the cave was filled with hundreds of beautifully coloured bubbles, all drifting gently through the air. It was truly a wonderful sight. As Sophie watched them, they all started floating towards the cave entrance, which was still open. "They're going out," Sophie whispered. "Of course," the BFG said. "Where to?" "Those is all little tiny dream bits that I isn't using. They's going back to the Misty Country to join up with proper dreams. Look in the big bottle, and you will now see the dream you is wanting for the Queen." Sophie turned and stared into the great jar. On the bottom of it was something thrashing around wildly, bouncing up and down and flinging itself against the walls of the jar. "Good heavens! Is that it?" "That's it," the BFG said proudly. "But it's horrible. It's jumping about. It wants to get out." "That's because it's a troggle-humper. It's a nightmare." "Oh, but I don't want you to give the Queen a nightmare." "If she is dreaming about giants guzzling up little boys and girls, then what is you expecting it to be except a nightmare?" "Oh, no." "Oh, yes," the BFG said. Sophie stared down at the fearful nightmare dream that was still thrashing away in the huge glass jar. "I don't want to give the Queen a nightmare." "I is thinking that your Queen will be happy to have a nightmare, if having a nightmare is going to save a lot of human beings from being gobbled up by filthsome giants. Is I right or is I left?" "I suppose you're right." "She'll soon be getting over it." "Have you put all the other important things into it?" Sophie asked. "When I is blowing that dream into the Queen's bedroom, she will be dreaming every single little thing-a-ling-a-ling you is asking me to make her a dream." As he spoke, the BFG picked up one of his smaller jars and very quickly tipped the struggling, thrashing troggle-humper out of the large jar into the small one. Then he screwed the lid tightly onto the small jar. "That's it. We is now ready." The BFG put on his great black cloak. He tucked the jar into a pocket in his cloak. He picked up his long trumpet-like dream-blower. Then he turned and looked at Sophie, who was still on the tabletop. "The dream bottle is in my pocket. Is you going to sit there with it during the travel?" "Never!" cried Sophie. "I refuse to sit next to that beastly thing." And where is you going to sit?" Sophie looked him over for a few moments. "If you would be kind enough to swivel one of your lovely big ears so that it is lying flat like a dish, that would make a very cosy place for me to sit." "By gumbo, that is a squackling good idea," the BFG said. Slowly, he swivelled his huge right ear until it was like a great shell facing the heavens. He lifted Sophie up and placed her into it. "I hope I don't fall down your ear-hole," Sophie said. "Be very careful not to do that. You would be giving me a cronking earache." The nice thing about being there was that she could whisper directly into his ear. "You is tickling me a bit," the BFG said. "Please don't jiggle about." "I'll try not to. Are we ready?" "Ow!" yelled the BFG. "Don't do that." "I didn't do anything." "You is talking too loud. You is forgetting that I is hearing every little thing-a-ling-a-ling 50 times louder than usual, and there you is shouting away right inside my ear." "Oh, gosh, is that better?" Sophie whispered. "No!" cried the BFG. "It sounds as though you is shooting off a blunderbuss." "Then how can I talk to you?" Sophie whispered. "Don't!" Sophie tried speaking right under her breath. "Is this better?" She spoke so softly, she couldn't even hear her own voice. That's better," the BFG said. "Now I is hearing you very nicely. What is it you is trying to say to me just now?" "I was saying, are we ready?" "We is off," cried the BFG. The great yellow wasteland lay dim and milky in the moonlight, as the big friendly giant went galloping across it. Sophie hadn't slept for a long time. She was very warm and comfortable. She dozed off. She didn't know how long she slept, but when she woke up again and looked out over the edge of the ear, the landscape had changed completely. They were in a green country now, with mountains and forests. It must have been about an hour or so later that the BFG began to slow his pace. "We is in England now," he said suddenly. Dark though it was, Sophie could see that they were in a country of green fields, with neat hedges in between the fields. There were hills with trees all over them, and occasionally there were roads with the lights of cars moving along. Each time they came to a road, the BFG was over it and away, and no motorist could possibly have seen anything except a quick black shadow flashing overhead. All at once, a curious orange-coloured glow appeared in the night sky ahead of them. "We is coming close to London," the BFG said. He slowed to a trot. Groups of houses were now appearing on all sides, but there were still no lights in their windows. It was too early for anyone to be getting up yet. "Someone's bound to see us," Sophie said. "Never is they seeing me," the BFG said confidently. "You is forgetting that I's doing this sort of thing for years and years and years. No human being is ever catching even the smallest wink of me." "I did," Sophie whispered. "Ah, yes, but you was the very first." During the next half-hour, things moved so swiftly and so silently that Sophie, crouching in the giant's ear, was unable to understand exactly what was going on. They were in streets, there were houses everywhere. There were quite a few people about, and there were cars with lights on, but nobody ever noticed the BFG. It was impossible to understand quite how he did it. He seemed to melt into the shadows. Sophie and the BFG came at last to a large place full of trees. There was a road running through it and a lake. There were no people in this place, and the BFG stopped for the first time since they had set out from his cave many hours before. "What's the matter?" Sophie whispered in her under-the-breath voice. "I is in a bit of a puddle." "You're doing marvellously," Sophie whispered. "No, I isn't. I is now completely boggled. I is lost." "But why?" "Because we is meant to be in the middle of London, and suddenly we is in green pastures." "Don't be silly." Sophie whispered. "This is the middle of London. It's called Hyde Park. I know exactly where we are." "You is joking." "I'm not. We're almost there." "You mean we is nearly at the Queen's Palace?" "It's just across the road," Sophie whispered. "This is where I take over." "Which way?" the BFG asked. "Straight ahead." The BFG trotted forward through the deserted park. "Now stop!" The BFG stopped. "You see that huge roundabout ahead of us, just outside the park?" Sophie whispered. "I see it." "That is Hyde Park Corner."